Hello.
Hi.
It's good to talk to you. I'm glad that you said that you would do this because I'm really always interested in knowing what's going on out there in retail, you know? And
Yeah, it's
and
uh it's no problem. Sorry. Sorry, Zoom has kind of a lag, so I'm so sorry if I talk over you. Um, but it's really nice to be here. Not a lot of people ask me to do stuff like this. I don't know if people just like I don't know, it's weird, but this is fun.
I've had a couple other people from record stores on, and I like doing it. I like talking to people from stores. Before we talk about Crystal Ball Records and your history, so I was wondering, did you get into music at a really early age?
Yeah, definitely. I actually got into vinyl too at like a really early age because when I was a really little kid, my mom still had her whole hi-fi setup in the house. So like as long as I can remember, I've been listening to like the Beatles, John Denver, stuff like that on vinyl with my mom. And then that just kind of progressed into what we have today.
Did she have a big record collection?
Yeah, she did. It's all mine now. She had like two or three crates worth. Unfortunately, she, like everyone else back in like the 80s and 90s when everything went digital, kind of got rid of most of it. But
Ugh.
everything that she had left over, I still have. So,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my parents didn't have many records. They had the Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass and the,
mm,
Tom Jones. My mother was from Italy, but she somehow listened to those records. My father wasn't really into music. That people don't really understand how I got so into it, but I think it was because
mm,
I was just a teenager and I heard Black Sabbath and that's how it happened. Um,
that's so fair.
so you said the Beatles and John Denver. Is there anything else you can remember that she had in her collection?
Well, she had a lot of like Joni Mitchell, Judy Collins, Bob Dylan, stuff like the really folky stuff. And then my father, on the other hand, had like David Bowie, Dead Kennedys, Talking Heads, like that sort of like punk and new wave stuff. So I kind of got the best of both worlds when it comes to like my parents' music tastes.
Wow, so your parents probably are 70s, Charles of the 70s, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, that's cool. Um, what really got your attention as far as music went at an early age?
Well, I actually used to perform. I used to sing like a lot. That's basically like, every little kid dreams of being famous. I wanted to sing. But like that's really what got me like super into it because I started like taking vocal lessons and like doing choir at school and like interacting with all these people who were also musicians, but were also like I was a kid, they were also all kids. So it was really nice to kind of like do that with other people that really helped me get into it is I was like, oh, all these other people are doing this too, so it must be cool.
Was it like school choirs and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. My school had like a regular choir that was like everybody had to take it because it was school. But then they had a select chorus, which was audition only, which I got into. And that was really nice because the people in the select chorus were way more serious as far as like middle schoolers can be serious about that sort of thing because they
Right.
actually wanted to be there and it wasn't just like school making you do this thing.
What was it just singing or did you play any instruments as
I've
well?
never been able to play an instrument. I took piano lessons when I was a little kid. I remember hating it and not doing it for very long, but I've only ever sung.
So when you were a teenager, were you buying records by then? Or I mean, I know we went through a lull period as far as like vinyl went, but I was there like when vinyl was really big, and then I saw the decline happen. But then around 2000, it started going up. So I'm imagining that you're were a teenager during that era.
Yeah, I feel like I was collecting records in like 2012, 2013, and no one else I knew who was my age even knew what a record was. And now I'm 24 and all of my friends have record collections. But it's funny because I was still buying vinyl back then. The record store that we met at, the one I used to work at before Crystal Ball, I shopped there when I was a little kid because I lived in that town. So it's really weird going from like shopping there as a little kid and then becoming an adult and managing the same place for 5 years.
I'm going to talk to you about Nevermind in a couple
Yeah.
minutes because that's where we met. Um, so was there what music was really getting you like you were
Oh
really getting
God.
into?
Like when I was younger or like more recently?
How about younger? We can do more recent later.
All right. I had like a Nirvana phase. Like I was really, really into Nirvana when I was like in middle school, like in high school, like really early high school, like super into the like 90s alt rock grunge stuff. And that sort of I sort of broadened my horizons a little bit as I got older and leaned more into the like heavier stuff, but that's that's at least when I was younger, I was really big into like grunge.
Was it their major labels, or did you hear Bleach and records before the majors that you got into, or did it get to you once it was commercialized?
It really got to me once it was commercialized, but also I was born in 2000, so I definitely like it was very much long commercialized
What
by
am I
the time
saying?
I was in
Well,
middle school.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
You told me you were 24. She's not 48, Steve. She's 24.
Yeah,
Okay,
so definitely long commercialized by the time I got into it,
yeah, I'm
unfortunately.
sorry
But
about. I don't know.
oh my
That was
god, no,
just
you're fine.
you know, I talk to a lot of people all the time, but I'm not going to say I never ask dumb questions, but that was a dumb one.
That's
So,
fair.
did you like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and those other bands too, or was it just Nirvana?
A little bit, but I was definitely like, I like to call it like, so I'm diagnosed with autism. I get hyperfixations on certain things. So I'll like latch onto a band and just listen to that one band for like a year. So that was definitely my like Nirvana period. Like that's the thing. And then I also listened to like Hole and stuff like that. But like it was really about Nirvana for me when I was like 13 through 15.
I get that. I hear a song sometimes, and if I really like it or I'm intrigued, I'll listen to it like 3 or 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like I've had some certain songs stuck in my head lately, and I keep wanting to hear them again and again because of the lyrics. Did you care
Yeah.
about lyrics?
Always. I always care about lyrics, and I find it kind of interesting when people like tell me like, oh, I listen to songs but I don't really pay attention to the lyrics. Like how could you not pay attention to the lyrics? It's the most important part of the song. Like
So are you like me and you like sometimes have to have your, liner notes in front of you when you're
oh
listening to
god,
the
yeah.
record?
I'm
Yeah.
in the car, I'm in the passenger seat, I pull up Genius and like look line by line at the annotations and figure out what the song is about. Yeah.
So what happened after grunge?
After grunge, oh boy, that was so because I was still performing at that point, I started to get more into like jazz and stuff like that because I did like a lot of like Sinatra, like lounge kind of music when I was still performing.
Really?
So that was yeah, so that was high school for me really. Was like sort of really older like doo-wop and like 50s stuff.
Like, the people watching maybe on YouTube right now, most people listen, but if you're watching on YouTube, you're dressed down compared to the way I've usually
Oh
seen you.
god, yeah, no, I'm in my pajamas
You
still.
you have unbelievable fashion.
Thank you. I kind
And
of always have.
like when I walked in one time, one of the first times, and you were there, I wasn't expecting you because I'm used to like, Mick and
Mm,
oh my God, I'm forgetting the Disturbing the Priest buddy of mine.
Brandon.
I'm sorry, my friend, for forgetting your name. I don't know how that happened. I was awestruck by Vanessa, I
Yeah.
guess. Um,
Thank you.
so when I saw you and I walked in there first time, I was like, "What in the world is she doing here?" It was like because
Yeah.
I'm
It's funny. When I first started working at Nevermind, like 2 or 3 days in, I literally asked Mick, like, do you have a dress code here? And he looked at me. He was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm going to take that as a no, and I'm just going to go crazy.
so because of the way you dressed and looked, did you find a lot of people started coming in there and hanging around because you were working there, or did you have
Yeah,
that
it's
problem?
actually it's kind of funny. My fiance actually was a regular at Nevermind, and that's how we met. And he told me like he would sometimes like when we were really becoming friends, he would like go to the parking lot first, and if my car wasn't there, he wouldn't come in.
Wow.
Like because he like yes, he did buy and he sold a lot of stuff to Nevermind, but he also kind of just wanted to hang out with me, which is fair because now we're engaged. So
That's cool. I
yeah,
don't have a problem with that. Doesn't sound creepy
yeah.
at all. Um, was Nevermind your first job working at a record store?
Yes, it was at that point I hadn't had a lot of jobs, but they were all retail. But it was like I worked at like the Natick Mall, but not at the Newberries, like at the Lush and like a bunch of unrelated small retail jobs. And then I it was like right after COVID lockdown when things were opening back up again. And I walked in to Nevermind and I was like, hey, are you guys hiring? And Mick literally asked me, was all he said was like, can you use a computer? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty fluent in that. And he was like, you start Friday. So then I said, do you want to see a resume? And he was like, no. And
Wow.
then the next like 5 years is history, basically.
That's fantastic. I was going to ask you how you got your job there. That sounds pretty easy. Uh, so
Easiest job interview I've ever had.
did you go in there before that?
Yeah, because I grew up in Upton, literally like 2 minutes down the street. So my mom was still into records when I was a little kid. So we'd go all the time. And like all of my Beatles records are from Mick, because of course he's a big Beatles Monkeys guy. So a lot of my stuff that's like that sort of genre is all from Nevermind. And I bought it when I was like really little.
Yeah, for people out there listening and aren't from Massachusetts, Upton's probably about maybe a half an hour outside of Boston, maybe 40 minutes. But two people that you might have heard of, David Minahan from the Neighborhoods and Replacements is from Upton, and Duncan Wilder Johnson, who's Destructathon and it's been in bands forever. Both of those guys are friends of mine. They're both from Upton. It's not a very big town.
Yeah, I mean, I know Aerosmith also got their start a few towns over, but
Yeah,
like really kind of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Joe Perry was from Hopedale, I believe, which
Yeah,
is
like
right
one
near
town
there.
over.
Yeah,
Crazy.
exactly. Yeah. And that's always been kind of a cool area. All like mellow cool, but not a problematic area or anything. I know a few other
Yeah.
people from that Bellingham area too, around that. That's not far from Upton, Bellingham, where you are
No.
now. Um, what was it like working at Nevermind? Did you feel like it expanded your musical knowledge immediately?
Oh
Like,
God, yeah, absolutely.
were you
Because
involved in buying or anything too?
yes, I actually that's one of the first things I learned was how to buy things. Because I think once Mick realized I was sort of responsible, he took that as an opportunity to go do other things because he had a lot to do. He was the business owner. He was the only one working there, so he basically had to stay there all the time and couldn't like run errands or anything. But like once he realized that I wasn't going to burn the place down, he went out a lot and he'd like leave me a budget for like if anyone just walked in with stuff, I'd be able to buy it.
So I imagine, and I don't like to tell a lot of people this because I don't want everyone to know the value of every record. I feel like sometimes, it hurts people like me that are collectors when they all know about Discogs. But
Oh
I
God.
imagine you, he probably told you to go to Discogs and check the pricing. Is that how you guys
Yep.
did it?
That's how I did it. And it's honestly how I still do it sometimes. If I don't just like know that I'm gonna look on Discogs, and even if I do know, I'm probably gonna double check because I don't want to be wrong. But
Right.
like the internet makes it so easy nowadays. Like back in the day, you just kind of had to use your best guess or like common sense. But nowadays, you got Discogs, and it's just so much easier.
Yeah, it's really surprising to me and a lot of people how valuable hardcore and punk has become as the years have gone by.
Oh
Like,
God.
of course, the Beatles Butcher record is always going to be something people want. Do you have a copy of that record by any chance?
I don't have the butcher cover, but I do have an original orange cover of Fresh Fruit for Rotting Vegetables in the shrink with the hype sticker. One of the most expensive records I've ever bought,
Dead
but someone
Kennedys.
someone walked in to Nevermind and it was just in their crate of stuff, all unrelated stuff, but I bought it because I couldn't pass that up.
What's
Like,
the value of that record?
oh God, like I think not in not even anywhere near the condition I have it in. Like if you're looking at significantly worse, it's gonna start at like 100. Like
Wow.
it's
I don't know if
insane.
you people heard me, but it's the Dead Kennedys
Mm,
record. It came out, I think, in 80, somewhere in between 82 and 84, something like
yeah.
that. It's a great record, though. Wow. So, while you were at Nevermind, did that ever happen before? Because that's really interesting when someone comes in and they don't know what they have. How do you
I find
deal
that
with it?
that's like a lot of the time is people don't know what they have. And I honestly I'm not in the business of scamming people and neither was Nevermind. Like we're gonna tell people like if your record is worth more, we're gonna pay you more for it. Like we're no one has like a good record store that's around for a long time by scamming people basically.
Yeah.
So I like to
Uh,
let people
Well, we
know when
hope
their stuff
not.
is worth a little more. Yeah.
Well, the people I know, I'm friends with a lot of people at retail, and they're not like that. But, you never know. I've
Yeah.
gone to places sometimes and I felt that things were way overpriced because
Hmm.
I have not my entire collection, but I think I have like 150 of my records on Discogs just to see the value of the records. That's what it's really useful for me. I haven't
Same.
sold a lot of stuff there, just a few things, and I've only bought a few things there. I actually like going to a record store and finding stuff in the
Same.
bins. Was there anything besides that Dead Kennedys record that anyone ever brought in that blew your mind?
Oh, this is actually one that my fiance brought in before we were even really friends. There's an album in a genre called Vaporwave. It's called I'll Try Living Like This by Death's Dynamic Shroud. Literally one of my favorite albums of all time, just because how insane it is. It's basically like glitch art, and I love it so much. But he brought that in, and I was like, I didn't think anyone else on the planet Earth knew what
Love
this
at
album
first
was.
sight. It
Yeah,
was love at
basically.
first sight, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Now we know how your fiance got you. Hey, music's a good way to get people, I'm
Oh
telling
God,
you.
yeah. I didn't have nearly as many friends as I do now, like before I started working at Nevermind, because people come in and then you just start talking and it goes from like you're a customer to an acquaintance to a friend. And like I have people that I hang out with regularly that I just met through Nevermind.
One time I was in there, like I think I was there like maybe 3 or 4 times while you were there. One time with Brandon, we did an interview downstairs. But one time I was there and I was going through all your bins and you were playing a Weezer compilation. But
Mm,
it wasn't just a normal Weezer compilation. It was like every Weezer song and cover they ever did. It went on
that's
for like an hour.
that was my playlist called Wheeze to Meet You because one of my favorite bands is Weezer, so I just made a playlist of literally all of my favorite Weezer songs and called it Wheeze to Meet You.
I don't think everyone would say this, but I see a definite connection from Nirvana to Weezer. There's some sort of a connection in there. They're
That's
not
really
a,
funny that you say that though, because Weezer thought they were going to be, quote, the next Nirvana when they put out the Blue album. And then they put out like Surf Wax America, and it's so kind of inherently goofy. Or like, how could they have ever said this about themselves? It's
yeah,
amazing.
they definitely went down the goofy category because,
Mm.
Hash Pipe is a great rock song.
Oh,
I
it's
mean,
so
not that
good.
they stopped making good music along the way, but that first record, I don't know how anyone could ever match that record. There's
Yeah.
a lot of that happened with a lot of bands in my lifetime. The Cars' first record, the Pretenders' first record. Sometimes a band makes that first record and it's hard to match it. But
God, yeah.
Weezer's had a great career. I mean, I
They
think
have. They've been around forever. It's kind of nuts.
so were there any classic rock records that ever came? Because you know how a lot of the old metal
Hmm.
records and stuff are really valuable. Did anyone ever walk in with like Show No Mercy by Slayer, an original pressing or anything like that?
Not anything like that. The closest that I can recall is one guy who brought in like a full crate of just like original Sabbath and like stuff like that. Like all his from when he was super young, and they were all like beautiful mint. And that's no one, not to say no one really brought in stuff like that to Nevermind because it was more like a Beatles monkey centric store, but I feel like people didn't really think to bring metal there. Like if you're gonna bring metal anywhere, you're gonna bring it to like Armageddon or Purchase Street or something like that.
Yeah, so you're familiar with a lot of other record stores.
Hmm.
Do you do a lot of shopping?
Yes, I cannot resist the call of a good record store. If it's like my day off and I'm somewhere else, I'm like, let's go to a record store because I feel like I don't have a lot of time off now that I own my own record store. So it's nice to go out and like explore places, especially stores I haven't been to yet. Because there's a lot of stores in New England I just haven't been to yet.
We're
And
going to
it's
get to
nice.
your record store, by the way. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah, no, don't worry
taking
about it.
the
We're fine.
taking the long way there. Purchase, is that the one that's in Fall River or New Bedford?
It's in New Bedford.
I haven't been there yet, but everyone tells me that's one of the best record
It's
stores.
amazing.
Why?
It's amazing. Their selection is massive, especially if you're into that like old punk and metal stuff. They have so much stuff that I've just never seen before. And the owner, Roger, is a super nice guy. He actually like one of the first people who reached out to me to like congratulate me and say hi when I announced that I was opening a record store, which was like insane. It was so cool.
Um, are they priced high?
Not for what they are. No, everything's pretty reasonably priced.
Like, do they have old Boston hardcore and stuff like that there too?
Mm-hmm. At least they did when I went. I know stuff like that tends to sell pretty quick, especially we're right after Christmas. I feel like a lot of places are super low on stock right now.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm a big fan of a lot of genres, but I've always had hardcore and punk because I worked with so many bands like that. But you can't find, you go to so many record stores and they just don't have any.
Yeah,
It's
that stuff flies off the shelves. When you do get it in, you're lucky if it's there for more than a few days.
it's incredible. Um, so you were at Nevermind for 4 years, right?
Hmm.
Five, almost 5 years.
Almost five, yeah.
When did it come into your mind that you were like, I think I want to get my own record store?
Honestly, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago. I know I made the account for Crystal Ball on Instagram, just like a blank account, just to like keep the username in like 2022. Because like Mick and I were discussing like that he was gonna leave Nevermind to me when he retired, but then he kind of didn't want to retire and kind of wanted to keep doing it. So I just kind of figured like at some point I'd go off on my own and we do separate things, but we're still on really good terms, which is nice.
So you thought about it for a few years, and you said you had the name. What is there any meaning behind the name for you?
So the name is actually my favorite band is Styx, and they have an album called Crystal Ball. It was the first album with Tommy Shaw on it. So that is where I got the name.
Okay, you just shocked me sometimes.
I
You're,
don't look like that. I don't look like my favorite band is Styx. I have
I,
like a Styx tattoo. No one guesses
no,
this.
I'm thinking when I first saw you, Bauhaus, Joy Division. I would never
Hmm.
think Sticks.
Well, I like
That's
them too. I but like yeah, Styx is the band. I'm actually in like 2 weeks going to Vegas to see their residency at the Venetian.
That's
Like
cool. I got to tell you, I love telling stories when someone reminds me of something. I was in France at this convention called the MIDEM convention. They have it every year. It's the biggest music convention in the world. This is a long time ago, before you were born. I think it was 87. And I was walking around, and at that convention, I met Davy Jones. Mick would probably like that, but I got a
that's
picture with
awesome.
Davy Jones. But I met JY, James Young from
Oh my
Styx,
god.
and actually we hung out together. We hung out, we drank, we hung out. And then I didn't see him and we never really kept in touch. And then I ended up working at A&M Records. And while I was there in 94, I believe it was, I heard we're doing a double greatest hits Styx album. They're going to go on tour. And I'm like, really? And I got to cover some of the shows. And one of them was at Great Woods, which I don't know what it's called now. It used to be called Great.
Xfinity Center, I
Yeah.
think.
And
Yeah.
I had 14 people that I could bring back. So I brought them back and I saw JY and he was looking at me like, "Do I
That's
know
so
you?" And I'm
cool.
like, "We met in France in 10, 11 years ago." And he remembered me. And my people that were with me were like, guys in Sticks. But what's really good about that is I met Dennis DeYoung and Tommy
Shit,
Shaw
really?
that day.
That's amazing.
And I hung out with those guys. And my Carter Allen was, Carter Allen? Carter was one of the guys that I brought back there. It was like retail and radio Boston people. Because I'm from here. So I'm like, can I go to the Boston show? I'm like, yeah. So I came up from New York. What's your cat's name?
Jackie Daytona, regular human bartender.
Yeah. Cam's over there sleeping, so I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I
go
can see
wake
him a
him
little
up. And
bit.
yeah, he's like snoozing. Otherwise, I'd introduce him. But your cat already bolted. They don't hang around very long. But anyways, it was really cool. And you know what? I'm not afraid to admit, I do like Styx and Foreigner. And
Hmm.
REO, I didn't think I'd like him, but now I know their lead guitar player, Dave Amato. He's from Framingham. So I
Shit, really?
know him before joined REO. So I went to see him. I liked him. The only one of those bands from that era that I don't really like is Kansas. Ugh.
That's fair. I mean, I had never really had any exposure to Foreigner. I knew REO because my mom loved them, but I saw Styx and Foreigner together at Xfinity Center, Great Woods, last August, and I had front row, and it was incredible. Like everyone, like you wouldn't guess, like for how old they are, that they would be so amazing. Like holy shit, it was awesome.
I think a lot of the guys in Foreigner are not there anymore. They've kind of like they're gone. But
Yeah, it's
Styx is down to like two guys, I think now, It's just Tommy and James and other guys. But that doesn't mean that they didn't perfect the music because I heard that Foreigner was really good live when they toured. And I watched them on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know if you saw that, and they performed and it was good. I mean, real
Yeah, it's
good.
fun. It's another thing too to like be there and be in the front row and it's like holy shit, these people are right in front of me putting on this show. It's incredible. But it's funny that you mentioned the Styx lineup because I met Lawrence Gowan, the like I say new lead singer. He's been there
Yeah,
for longer than I've been alive, and
that's
I had
true.
him.
Those guys have been in those bands for a long time. So to tell
Yeah,
you that they're not original probably doesn't mean anything because
exactly.
we're talking about these bands peaked in 77, okay? I mean, that's like,
But I met him and he was so cool and I was so weird because I was really nervous. But I had him sign my arm and then I got it tattooed. So that's my Styx
oh
tattoo.
my God, you
He's
are a
so cool.
fan.
Yeah, I'm a little crazy,
I've
but
got an
that's okay.
autographed Styx greatest hits record by the whole band. It's a
That's so
CD, actually.
cool.
Never came out on vinyl. The one
Oh
that we
wow.
release is only on CD, and I got a signed copy somewhere around. I've got a lot
That's
of stuff like
amazing.
that. Um,
Yeah.
it's okay that we just went completely off topic because that's how I like to do things. Okay, so September 7th was
Mm-hmm.
the opening day. And
Yes.
I got to your store not that early, but I was there. I liked what I saw. I will go back. I was going to buy one of those mystery 10 packs, but you didn't have any that day. When I
Yeah,
saw that, I
definitely
was
sold
like,
out fast.
it's an old idea that came back. It used to happen in the old days. You'd go in the store and they'd have a brown paper bag with, a bunch of records in it. Usually it was like Neil Diamond records and stuff, though.
Yeah,
You can't get enough Neil Diamond records, right? Or Chicago.
exactly.
My
Neil Diamond,
God.
Barry Manilow. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the bands from that era you see Dave Mason, you can go to a record store and see a million Dave Mason. It's like I think they just overpressed
Yeah.
records back then and people decide to sell them all. So what did you have for stock when you first came in? How did you stock the store at the beginning? Do you have a
Oh.
distributor? Do you buy
I do have a
direct?
distributor. Shout out to Jennifer at AMS. I do have a distributor, but I had in my personal collection over 1,000 records before I opened Crystal Ball, and now I'm down to like these three cube shelves you see behind me, knocking shit over because like you got to get your stock from somewhere, and I had a
Did you
lot of like
catch that
weird
when you
cool stuff.
knocked it over? Because that was a
No,
great
I am not
save.
that graceful. But I only have like these three, like less than 100 records left out of the 1,000 that I had because you have to start somewhere. And when you're opening a business for the first time, obviously you haven't like made a profit yet or anything. So you have to not cut corners, but you have to like be resourceful where you can. So basically, all of my records from my personal collection are gone. They're
See,
all
that
sold.
sounds like a bad idea to sell your own personal records, and because I had to sell some years ago, but I still have over 1,000 records here. But the advantage for you is that you're going to be able to get other stuff because if
Mm-hmm.
people keep coming in and selling their collections, there's going to be another Dead Kennedys Fresh Fruit record or something
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And you're going to be like, okay, I'll give him 20 for that, but that's coming home with me, So did you end up
Yeah.
selling a lot of your own personal records or did you just put them in the store and did you salvage any or did they all sell?
They're mostly sold. I mean, I held on to the stuff that I knew I would never be able to get again, like the rare stuff, a lot of my original pressings of things that I know are probably never going to get pressed again. Like everything that's like super rare, I held on to. My philosophy with selling my collection was basically if I can get it again, I'm going to get it again at some point. So, I feel like most of what I put out is probably long sold by this point just because it's been a few months, but there are always, people have different tastes and sometimes things will sit around for a while.
Was there something you put out from your collection that you had to price really high that sold?
Ooh, that's a good one. Basically, all of my vaporwave stuff, I had like 100. The vaporwave records stuff in that genre is really hard to get because it's all really small independent artists, and they'll only ever press stuff once or twice, maybe three times if you're lucky. And I had so many records of a bunch of different artists from that genre, and I sold like half of them, and they're all like $100, $200, $300 records. But
Wow.
there is one that's really sought after that's actually not, it's only like 75 bucks. It's a Floral Shop by Macintosh Plus. It's got like a pink cover with a statue on it. It's like the most iconic album from that entire genre, and people want it so bad. And I sold it probably day one.
Okay, I'm not saying
Sorry.
I know, I'm not saying I'm a know-it-all, know everything, but I know about a lot of music, but you got me with a genre here that I am not familiar with at all.
Yeah,
Vaporwave. I've got to
it's a
look
very
into
internet
this.
based genre. It's
Is it
a lot of original.
electronic?
Yeah, kind of. It's a lot of original stuff, but it's really like a sample based genre. Like people will take songs from the 80s and like loop them and slow them down and then put like reverb and other effects and stuff. And
Did
then
they,
also like, oh sorry, what was
I
that?
was going to say, did they credit all the
Oh,
artists,
of course,
obviously, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But that album, Floral Shop, part of why it's so hard to get and why they'll never press it again is because like the most iconic song on that album, which is called like Lisa Frank 420 or something, is a Diana Ross sample that they did not have permission to use. So when they started pressing it on vinyl, Diana Ross's team is like, hey, you can't fucking do that. So they're never gonna press it again. They make bootlegs sometimes, but
How'd they
a
find
real
out?
I have absolutely no idea. Someone snitched. Like, I really don't know because it's such a niche thing. But, like, I
Yeah.
guess someone found out, which is insane.
I'm gonna have to look. I'm curious what Diana Ross song they used. Was it like
Uh,
Mahogany or a real popular song, or was?
It's Your Move, which is like her
Oh,
solo stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing a whole new genre with me.
Please check
Um,
it out. It's so fun.
okay, I actually have questions now. Ready?
Yeah.
Do you find that there are more and more people interested in vinyl, like younger people now?
Mm-hmm. It's funny when I first started working like at Nevermind, a lot of our genre, not genre, like demographic was kind of older people. That's because we didn't have the newest stuff. Like once I told Mick, like, hey, we should start getting like Taylor Swift and stuff like that, our demographic just kept getting younger and younger. And now I have like, now it's post Christmas, it's January 14th, and I have so many people who are like little kids who are like, I got my first record player for Christmas, so I want records. Do you have Taylor Swift? Like, of course. So it's
Yeah, I don't
definitely
know
like,
how anyone couldn't carry Taylor Swift. I mean,
oh God, she
she's
keeps us in
responsible.
business.
Yeah, she's really almost single-handedly responsible for the vinyl sales that have happened in the last 5 years. I mean,
Yep.
without her, vinyl is nowhere near as big as it is.
Yeah. And like, I'm not a massive fan of the music, but I will give her credit as a businesswoman that putting out five or six different colors of every single album, knowing your fans will buy all of them, is a really good move,
They're 40
honestly, and does
bucks
a
a
lot for
piece too.
vinyl. Yeah. It does a
Because
lot for the vinyl industry.
yeah, when I went, Joe's a good friend of mine. You know Joe's Records in Worcester. Um,
Yeah.
I remember when she came out with the last thing, and I walked in the front door, and he had a front display with four versions. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And he's like, "You wouldn't believe the people that buy
Oh
all four of
God.
them." And
You
I'm
wouldn't
like,
believe.
"Well, you know what? I'm not going to say I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I'm also not going to say I don't like her. In fact." I'm leaning right in front of a bureau here, and I got this at Nevermind just because I
Oh
liked it.
yeah. I remember those shirts.
I
Yeah, that's a
bought
great
this. It's a
shirt.
long sleeve shirt. I've only worn
Oh
it like
nice.
once. You'll have to watch the video to see that, kids. But anyways, it was a really cool shirt, and I think I'll buy it and give it to my niece, and I ended up keeping it.
Yep. The shirts they had at Nevermind were all really, really cool. Um, but yeah, no, I have so many friends, like people my age and even younger, who are like massive Taylor Swift collectors. Like that's the thing. Like they don't just collect vinyl, they collect Taylor Swift. And like anytime she puts out anything, it's like a bloodbath trying to get it, especially the limited edition stuff. Like she had a heart-shaped vinyl a while ago and she just repressed it, and my friend Meg was telling me about the experience she had trying to get her hands on the repress, and it sounds kind of like a nightmare but also really kind of fun.
Wow, I never saw that. A heart shaped, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the real collectors, the
Oh God, yeah.
Swifties, all have one. Um, so the younger people that are coming into your store, we'll just talk, we'll just stick with Crystal Ball here. You know, if we can move away from Nevermind a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
do you feel like is that what genres are like what are I was in your store and you seem to have a little bit of everything, but I was wondering, is there specific genres that the kids out there in the suburbs are like looking to buy?
Well, here's the thing. I've had a lot of people come into Crystal Ball telling me that they find a lot of things here that they can't find anywhere else. So I've attracted a very specific demographic of people, I think. And a lot of the people my age and younger are listening to like lo-fi, indie, Midwest emo, stuff like that. Like really like I have a lot of scene kids and like emo kids that come in. Like My Chemical Romance is a really big sell, as they should be. Stuff like that.
Yeah. What else? I'm really curious about. I was going to ask you. That was one of my next questions. What are people buying these days?
Well, My Chemical Romance is a great start because I basically sell out of them all the time. Then we mentioned Taylor Swift, but a lot of like hip hop. People are really into rap and hip hop nowadays, which
Hmm.
admittedly is not a genre I know too much about, but I do kind of know like what albums people want. And then I have people like I take requests. So like if someone wanted Playboy Cardi and I didn't have any and then I ordered some, and of course he sells all the time, like MF Doom sells a lot. Brandon actually introduced me to MF Doom. So it's really like rap and hip hop is a huge sell.
Yeah, white suburban kids have always liked rap and hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
That started with NWA and Public Enemy way back then. It hasn't changed. What do you decide to play when you play music in your store? How do you decide what to play and what do you play?
So here's the problem with owning a retail business is everything that I play in terms of music in the business is classified as public demonstration. So I actually can't really like play records too much or listen to Spotify or anything like that. I kind of have to use like a licensed for retail radio, which kind of sucks the fun out of a lot of stuff. But the nice thing about the one that I use is I get to pick what I listen to. So I will kind of just put on like genre playlists, like this is My Chemical Romance or like this is Midwest emo, stuff like that. And I do have people like ask me like, "Hey, while I'm in here, can you play so and so?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, if they have it on the streaming service, I absolutely will." Like
You can't just get a record player and play records in the
I
store?
can't. It's because it's really weird how they do it. They have people like like the secret shopper system. They have people go into stores and ask them like what streaming service they're using, and if you say like Spotify, they'll hit you with a copyright strike. Like they'll send you a DMCA letter. Like it's you have to be really careful when you
I
own
didn't
a
know about
business.
that.
It's nuts. I didn't know about it until I went to Open Crystal Ball and I started doing some research on like music to play in the store. And it's like, yeah, no, I can't. It, I know a lot of record stores don't do that because, like, why would you? But I'm kind of nervous. I'm playing it safe because I don't like. I worked so hard for this. I don't want anything to
Yeah,
happen
I
to
don't
it.
blame you. I know my brain stopped before and couldn't remember Brandon's name. Brandon, I'm going to repeat your name many times because I know you're going to hear this and I don't want you to think I forgot you because I love you, dude. All right. Um, you knew when you walked in the store and you saw him at the other store, metal. Do you get
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those kind of people in your store, like metal and alt or 90s alternative and metal
Yeah.
kids?
90s alternative and metal is definitely like one of the, if not the top selling genre in Crystal Ball aside from rap and hip hop.
So like heavy stuff or
A little bit, a lot of the like classic stuff though, like Metallica, Sabbath, stuff like that. Because I do still have like I know it made it sound like only young people come into Crystal Ball, but I do have people who were alive when the good stuff came out and they want to buy those records again. So because I know a lot of people like sold them when everything went digital, and now I have older people who come in like I have to buy my whole collection over again.
I never make lists or anything when I go to record stores. Like when I was at your store, I know I bought a couple I bought this record holder thing from you that's really great. I'm
Oh,
gonna
the
come and
crates,
I'm
yeah,
gonna get another one of those. But that's my new listening station crate because
nice.
I have to keep my stuff all barricaded because of that cat sitting
Yeah.
over there. And I had a really bad experience with my cat, Jazz, who I loved. One day I never knew it, but he was clawing my records.
No.
And the spines on a bunch of records got ruined, and there were a
Oh my
lot of good,
God,
valuable
no.
records in there. The records was good, but the spines were ruined. And so ever since then, now, because I've had a lot of cats over the years, I
Mm.
board them up, and you can't get to them. Um, you mentioned that you do have a distributor. Do you buy direct from labels as well?
I would like to. I've reached out to a couple labels, but whether or not I hear back is typically a mystery. But I do most of my buying from like AMS, Alliance, stuff like that.
Well, I do know one record label that I told you about, and I gave him all your
Yeah,
information.
we've been emailing, which is really nice. I'm
Oh,
looking
good,
forward to
good.
working with him. Yeah.
Tang Records. Yeah, Tang has got
Yes.
a huge catalog. So if you get, they have a lot of stuff that I'm sure you could do well. The Lemonheads, Boss Tones, Street
Oh God, yeah.
Dogs, Slapshot. I mean, I could see all that stuff doing well in your store, you know.
Hmm.
It does well everywhere, so it'll probably do
Yeah.
well there. Um, but there's not other labels that you've been able to buy direct from.
Not really. I've gotten contact with a few like vaporwave labels already, which is pretty cool. But the problem with the stuff like that is it's typically so pricey that it moves pretty slow. So I'm not really looking to buy a lot of new stuff in that genre right now. But it is nice. Like I know people are busy and sometimes it's hard to get back to everybody who emails you, but it is nice when I do hear back from labels about buying direct.
What I was going to say before is when I went in your store, I bought Slater, Kinney, and Wild Flag. Both those records were very well priced, by the way, and worth
Thank
it.
you.
And they were used and they were in good shape. And I'm one of those guys that it's a big pet peeve of mine when you go to a record store and you buy used records and you take them out and the record's not cleaned, and it bums
Hmm.
the hell out of me. So I imagine you must have a machine or you clean your records.
Yeah, I have an ultrasonic. I have the like the Humming Guru, just the little like one disc ultrasonic. It for the price, it's incredible. I don't like I used to use like a vacuum cleaner and like I never really was like, oh, like I could upgrade to an ultrasonic, but they're so expensive. But like holy shit, it is so worth it. Like it's
A
amazing.
vacuum cleaner?
Yeah, I had like one of the vacuum style where you like put the fluid on and then you lower the arm and it like sucks up all the dirt. But like I had never like really taken like oh like I never taken into consideration the fact that maybe an ultrasonic would do a way better job, but I've put records in there that I thought were lost causes, like going to end up in the dollar bin kind of records, and I pull them out and they're beautiful. Like it's crazy.
You could also have records that look like they're messed up, but then you put them on and they're fine. You know,
Yeah, I've
it's
had a
like,
lot of records like that. I do when I get stuff that's like really kind of sus like that, I do play test it. And I've had a lot of records that look like they're just like beat to shit, never gonna be able to play, then they play fine.
see, now you know why I wanted you on the show so we could geek out on this stuff because this to me is like, if you love vinyl the way I do, and I have a feeling you do, like I worship my vinyl. Okay. Like it really bums me out when I have a record that has a scratch on it and I can't play it anymore. And it's like I don't even like to throw them away. I'll save the artwork, throw
Yeah,
the vinyl away.
I'm a huge fan of not throwing anything away, so that's why we have like the bargain bins dollar section is because like I just don't have it in me to throw vinyl in the dumpster. Like if even if it's beat to hell and back, I have a lot of artists who come in who like make stuff out of the unplayable records. Like stuff can always be reused and I don't want to like just have records end up in a landfill instead of having like putting them out and then someone can cherish them for a dollar. Like
Yeah, I've gone through many dollar bins. It bums me out when there's all classical and crap in there, but sometimes you can find something. I mean, I have
yeah,
found really interesting records in weird places, you know. Not
same.
everyone knows that they can price a certain record really high. Of course, when you're like me, you're looking to go to a store and see a $40 record for $10 and be like, I'm not saying anything, just gonna buy it and leave, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Let's see, we covered quite a bit. I was wondering about your going back to your personal taste, and I already kind of asked you about whether you listen to vinyl or stream. When you're at home and when you're not in this, well, you're probably at the store most of the time,
Yeah.
but when you do listen and you can listen and not worried about spies or whatever, do you listen to a lot of streaming or do you just listen to a lot of records? And do you ever
I
listen to
actually
CDs or cassettes or
I've been really getting into cassettes lately. Like really getting into cassettes because the problem is whenever I buy a record for myself, I end up just selling it anyways. But like,
that little crate that you can see down there of cassettes right
mm,
there, that's only a few, but those are really good cassettes and they're all old
yeah,
cassettes. And I've thought about selling them because I don't even listen to cassettes. Maybe I'll let you look at them because you might find something
please,
in that you're interested in because I don't want to put them all up on Discogs and try and sell them individually. I'd rather have
yeah,
somebody say I want all of those and work something out. I didn't get you on here to buy stuff from me, by the way. I
that's
don't really
fine.
like to sell anything. It's one of my big problems. People think I have too much stuff. So, right now, what is your personal favorites that you're listening to right now?
Ooh, I've been getting really into Radiohead, like dangerously into Radiohead. I actually recently got another tattoo. It's a Radiohead tattoo. It's Tom York's, one of his drawings from the OK Computer era when he was writing the
A
album.
lot of my
Like,
friends are laughing right now because they know I'm not a big Radiohead fan, and
no,
I'm always making fun of Radiohead and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Those are the two bands I like to make fun of. But I do like Tom York, and I
yeah,
think he's really cool. And the duet he did with PJ Harvey on one of her records is fantastic. I don't know if you ever
yeah.
heard that,
I
but
haven't, but he did another one with Bjork that's actually really good too.
um, do you like Pink Floyd?
I do. I do like Pink Floyd. I was really into them for a while. Admittedly, kind of like most other people, I don't really know too much about their discography beyond The Wall and Dark Side, but I do like what I have heard.
I was wondering if you think there's a weird connection from the Pink Floyd that evolved all the way towards Radiohead. I mean, I was thinking about that. I was thinking, you know what? They don't have the same things going on, but there's something weird about how you could get Pink Floyd fans and they Radiohead fans too.
Yeah. Now that I've never thought about that before, but now that I'm thinking about it, there is a little bit of overlap in sound. I wonder, I'm gonna look into if there was any influence there, because that's now that I'm thinking about it, there's definitely something going on
It'd
there.
probably be the guitar player, I would think, in Radiohead.
Hmm,
I'm guessing he might have been the Pink Floyd fan. But
probably.
so what else?
Oh goodness, what else? Some I know you probably have a lot of metal fans who listen to this podcast, so people are probably about to get really mad at me, but I'm really into Ghost.
I actually have more hardcore and punk fans, but I hear what you're saying, how a metal fan would
Hmm.
think that, oh, well, they're not really metal, but
Yeah, I honestly like I classify them like most other people as goofy Scooby Doo chase music, but I love them so much. And
can you repeat that? You
um they're goofy Scooby Doo chase music, especially that first album Opus. Like you could put that over, like put Elizabeth over an episode of Scooby-Doo, and that is, and I know Tobias from the lead singer of Ghost has leaned into that because when they put out the movie last summer, there was a whole animated sequence that was inspired by that like Hanna-Barbera art style. So the fact that they are goofy Scooby-Doo chase music has gone so far that they themselves have been like, yeah, we can lean into that.
Ghost Sticks Radiohead. Hmm, interesting.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of like weird random stuff. If I like the sound, I like the sound. I'm not gonna really limit myself to one
Nirvana too.
specific
I should have said
genre.
Nirvana too when I listed your
Weezer,
bands. Weezer.
yeah,
Well, you're all over the board, so aren't I. It's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
Um, Before I let you go, just give us a little sales job on your store and why you think people should go there.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I tell people tell me all the time, like, "Oh my God, I've been looking for this forever. Like, you have so much stuff that I've never seen anywhere else." And I kind of pride myself on being like the weird record store that has the weird stuff. So if you're ever in Bellingham, we're right behind the Honeydew. We're right in that plaza. So please, if you like weird stuff, come to Crystal Ball.
You
I
do have a
promise we
great
have it.
locate. You do have a great location. It didn't take me. It was easy to find you when I came out there, and
Yeah.
I really like the way you have your store set up too. It's definitely
Thank you.
happening. Uh, Thank you for coming on,
Yeah.
and you'll probably see me soon.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
And I'm gonna check out. I've already forgot. I'll have to go back and listen to the genre.
Vaporwave.
Vapor wave. Learn something new every day. It does not matter how old you are, how long you've been doing it. There's always something new. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great
All right.
talking to you.
Awesome.